The courtroom 4B in the Fulton County Justice Palace, Georgia, was charged with an unusual energy that Tuesday morning. It wasn't just any day. The air vibrated with anticipation, as if destiny had decided to stage a spectacle. Reporters crammed the back benches, law students lined the walls, and even lawyers from neighboring counties snuck in to witness what was coming. No one knew exactly what was going to happen, but everyone felt something big was about to unfold. At the center of it all, an 18-year-old, Jake Miller, was about to face one of the state's most feared attorneys, Victoria Langford, armed with nothing more than a wrinkled suit, a thin folder, and a determination no one in that room could imagine. If this story grips you as much as it does us, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more breathtaking tales, and leave us a comment with, "Where are you listening from?" We want to know who's on the other side of the screen. Judge Thompson, with his thick glasses and a pen drumming against the bench, observed the room with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The silence was so dense that whispers barely dared to break it. Then the door creaked open. Victoria Langford, in an impeccable suit and an even sharper reputation, entered with firm steps, as if the room belonged to her. With 30 years of courtroom victories, her mere presence made even the most seasoned prosecutors straighten in their seats. No assistant, no junior partner, just her. She placed her briefcase on the table with a crisp thud, looked around disdainfully, and sat. She was there to crush what she believed was an insignificant case brought by a young man too proud to surrender. 2 minutes later, Jake entered. His navy blue suit, wrinkled and clearly secondhand, didn't inspire power, but his eyes told another story. There was no fear in them, only preparedness. He carried a simple folder, no briefcase, no lawyer by his side. Some in the gallery let out muffled chuckles. Victoria stared at him, unblinking, as he took a seat at the defense table. The bailiff announced the case, Miller versus Cobb County Police Department, a civil rights lawsuit alleging wrongful arrest and excessive force. Victoria leaned towards the judge with a sarcastic smile. "Just to clarify, are we proceeding with Mr. Miller representing himself?" The judge nodded. "He has waived his right to counsel." She smirked, but it wasn't a kind smile. "I hope the court's patience is as generous as the Constitution," she said, eliciting chuckles from the gallery. Jake didn't flinch. He looked at his folder, then at the judge, and in a firm voice said, "I'm ready, Your Honor." When Jake began his opening statement, the atmosphere shifted. He spoke calmly, but every word was loaded with purpose. "What happened to me outside a gas station in Springfield was not a misunderstanding. It wasn't for safety or even suspicion. It was a careless use of power and a system that allows it." Some in the gallery looked up. Victoria, however, was unimpressed. She quickly stood. "Your Honor, how much generalization are we going to permit before we get to the facts?" The judge looked at her sternly. "It's an opening statement, Ms. Langford. You'll have your turn." She sat with a slight gesture of annoyance, but her foot began to tap. Jake continued undeterred. "I was handcuffed in front of a store where I just bought chips. I was searched without a warrant. I was detained without cause, and the officer didn't even ask for my ID until I was in the back of the car." He paused. "I'm 18, but I'm not here asking for sympathy. I'm asking for accountability, and I'll do it step by step, with legal precedents, timelines, and sworn statements that prove this wasn't a mistake, it was a violation." The air in the room changed. A man whispered. He said, "Legal precedents." Victoria narrowed her eyes, her confidence wavering for the first time. In the following minutes, Jake called Officer Drew Caldwell, the man who had detained him, to the stand. With calm steps, adjusting his glasses, Jake began his questioning. "Officer Caldwell, you reported on February 11th at 4:36 p.m. that you responded to a suspicious individual outside the Sidjo gas station on South Cobb Drive, correct?" Caldwell nodded. "And that individual was me? What was I doing when you arrived?" "You were loitering near the entrance," Caldwell responded. Jake tilted his head. "Loitering, right? I'd like the court to see Exhibit A. Security footage from that location, time-stamped from 4:34 p.m. to 4:38 p.m. The screen lit up, showing Jake standing less than 45 seconds outside the store before going inside. 2 minutes later, he came out with a bag of chips, checked his phone for 30 seconds, and then the patrol car appeared. The silence in the room was deafening. Jake didn't need to say much. The images spoke for him. "Officer Caldwell, do you still maintain that I was loitering?" Caldwell hesitated. In that neighborhood, standing around like that, people call it loitering. Jake didn't let the answer slide. "So you define loitering by the place, not the behavior?" Victoria stood. Objection, argumentative. But the judge dismissed her without hesitation. Jake continued to dismantle Caldwell's narrative with precise questions, displaying a mastery no one expected from a young man with no legal training. The decisive moment came when Jake presented an audio recording from his phone during the incident. "Officer, what's going on?" His calm but confused voice was heard. Then Caldwell's firm voice. "No questions, hand on the car." The sound of handcuffs echoed in the room. There were no shouts, no threats, just a young man asking for an explanation that never came. Victoria squeezed her pen, clearly disconcerted. She had underestimated Jake, and now she was paying for it as the trial progressed. Jake revealed how he had built his case. Nights at the Springfield Public Library, borrowed books, a 122-page notebook full of notes, legal precedents, and timelines. No firm, no mentor, just with the help of a retired paralegal, Ms. Elva Romero, who quizzed him on Sundays at the community center. He cited cases like Terry versus Ohio, Kylo versus United States, and Brenlin versus California with a precision that left Victoria speechless. When she tried to counter with Illinois versus Wardlow, he responded without hesitation. Page 67. "Yes, I know it. The standard is objective reasonableness, but that doesn't mean ignoring obvious mistakes." The room held its breath. In his closing statement, Jake spoke from the heart. "They told me this would be a waste of time, that the system would swallow me before I was heard. But I believe the truth still matters, even when those in power don't want to hear it. I'm not here because I want to win. I'm here because I had to be." Victoria, in her closing, admitted something unexpected. "I was wrong about Mr. Miller. Not about the facts. Everyone interprets those their own way. But about him. I thought he didn't belong here, but today he proved he belongs more than many of us." The gallery murmured in astonishment. 15 minutes later, the jury returned. In the case of Miller versus Cobb County Police Department, we find in favor of the plaintiff. The room erupted in whispers and discreet applause. Jake didn't celebrate. He simply looked at his notebook, letting the weight of the moment settle. Outside the courthouse, Jake's story went viral. Reporters surrounded him, asking how he did it without a lawyer. "A notebook, a library card, and time," he replied. A journalist pressed, "Do you want to be a lawyer now?" Jake paused. "I don't know yet. I just wanted to be heard." Days later, he received an email from a nonprofit organization in Alabama offering him a mentorship for underrepresented students. Ms. Romero brought him a list of scholarships, and even Victoria, in an interview, promised to write him a letter of recommendation if he ever applied to law school. And what's the lesson here? It's not just that talent can hide in a second-hand suit, nor that underdogs always have their moment. It's that when you're not given a seat at the table, you build your own. Jake didn't change the world with one verdict, but he opened a door, and someone else will walk through it for him. If this story made you feel something, leave us a comment with where you're listening from, and share what inspired you about Jake. Subscribe for more stories that prove the truth, when spoken with clarity and courage, always finds its way.